Paul Izenberg, and I'm a registered clinical counselor and certified anger management specialist. And in this short talk, I'm going to describe what anger is, why it shows up, and how thoughts, body sensations, and behavior interact to create the experience we call being angry. The aim here isn't to get rid of anger. The aim is to understand it well enough so that you can feel it and still choose your response. Anger is a functional emotion. It signals that something important feels threatened, very often a boundary, maybe a value or a sense of fairness. In that sense, anger tries to protect what matters to us. The difficulty usually isn't the feeling itself, it's the chain of reactions that can follow when we're on autopilot. If we can slow the process down, we can keep the parts of anger that are useful: clarity, energy, a sense of self-respect, but without being pulled into words or actions that we later regret. It helps to think of anger as a loop with several parts that influence each other. First, there's a situation, maybe a comment, a tone of voice, maybe a memory that gets stirred up, or an event that feels unfair. Almost instantly, our mind assigns meaning to what happened. It might be, that's disrespect, or I'm being ignored, or this is not okay. As our meaning forms, our body responds. Our heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, heat rises in our face, our jaw might tighten, our shoulders might lift. These are the nervous system's mobilization cues. They're your body's way of preparing you to react. At the same time, impulses show up. Our urge to confront, to argue, to interrupt, to maybe walk away or to shut down. If those urges are followed automatically, there are consequences. Sometimes there's short-term relief, but more often there is strain in the relationship, maybe a problem that gets bigger rather than smaller. Maybe our body remains tense long after that moment has passed. So what makes this a loop is that each part feeds the next part. The body sensations you notice from the inside, what we call interoception, can make certain thoughts feel more true. A pounding heart can make "this is dangerous" feel more convincing, which then intensifies anger, and the thoughts can ramp up the body in return. If you see this loop clearly while it's happening, you start to gain multiple entry points for making change. You don't need to control everything. Shifting any one part, your appraisal of the situation, maybe the way you settle your physiology or the behavior you choose, any of these can lower the intensity of the moment and bring back a sense of choice, a sense of agency. There are a few capacities that reliably help us here. And the first is awareness. That means noticing anger as it unfolds. Thoughts, sensations, urges, but without trying to suppress it and without immediately acting on it. The second is flexible thinking, and that's the ability to gently test these interpretations. We might ask, what else could this mean right now? If I slow down, does the meaning change a little bit? What exactly is going on right now? The third is managing or maintaining our habits. Many of us do things that keep anger stuck. Venting to feel momentary relief, ruminating, avoiding difficult situations or conversations, maybe using substances to dull the intensity. Another approach is the internal cues to anger in a planned way. Practice being with heat, pressure, or tension for short periods so that our nervous system learns that we can handle this intense experience and we have a choice and we can cultivate this capacity over time. So let me offer you a few simple practices that you can use today. I'll keep them straightforward so you can remember them when you need to. The first is label engage. quietly name the state that you're experiencing. For example, this is anger. I'm experiencing anger right now. Then give it a number, a gauge from 0 to 10. 0 means calm, 10 means totally out of control. If you're between 0 and 3, conversation and problem solving are usually possible. If you're between a 4 and a 6, that's maybe the yellow zone. This is a time to pause and regulate yourself before you continue. Maybe slow your breathing, feel your feet on the ground, soften your jaw, lower your shoulders a bit. Avoid big decisions while you're in that state of mind and body. If you're maybe at a 6 to a 7, an 8 and a 9, that's the red zone. Maybe time to step away, protect the relationship, return when the numbers become lower. This simple act of labeling can reduce the intensity and allow you to choose what to do next. The second practice is a brief breathing pattern that helps the body settle. So breathe natural and smooth, belly, ribs to chest. Breathe out in reverse, chest, belly, ribs. Flow unforced and continuous for 5, 10 cycles. And try taking deeper breaths. You're aiming for a steady rhythm that tells your nervous system it's safe to shift down into a calmer state. And as your nervous system settles, the parts of the brain involved in planning and perspective start to come back online. A third practice is a simple pause statement. This is a respectful sentence that buys you some time without escalating the situation. So for example, I notice I'm getting elevated. I'm going to take 10 minutes and then I'll come back to this. So in that situation, you're naming what is happening, you're taking responsibility for your own regulation, and you are setting an expectation to return. That protects the relationship and protects your values at the same time. When you bring these pieces all together, you get a practical way of working with anger. You recognize it as a protective signal. You understand the loop, meaning the situation, the meaning that you give it, the body sensation, the urges to react in a certain way, and then the consequences of doing so. You intervene where you can. You label your experience and you gauge its intensity to orient yourself. You use breathing to settle your physiology. You speak a brief pause statement to create space for a better choice, a better outcome. None of this is about being perfect. It's about slightly widening the gap between the impulse and the action so that more of your behavior lines up with what matters to you. If you're starting from scratch, keep the bar modest. Once a day, practice labeling, engaging what you're feeling. It doesn't have to be anger and it doesn't have to be intense. Once a day, use the breathing pattern for a minute or two when you notice any tension. Prepare one pause statement that you can say without thinking when you need it. It's something that comes to you naturally. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small repetitions will change habitual patterns. Anger is going to continue to come. That's not a failure, it's information. With practice, you can feel it more fully, understand what it's pointing to, and respond in a way that preserves safety, dignity, and connection for you, as well as the people around you and that matter to you the most. So if you would like structured support to develop these skills that I've just briefly talked about, you can learn more about my anger management groups and my individual work on my website. I hope this is helpful for you.